Welcome to our WGSN Hangout live from New York and from London. We have a great lineup of panelists joining us today to talk about retail strategy for the holiday season. Now, according to analysts, we can expect retail sales to increase a very healthy 4.1% this year to $616.9 billion in the US. And online sales as a part of that are predicted to see between 8 and 11% growth. In the UK, it's an even bigger story for online. We're expected to see 18% growth. So as always, for our much loved brands and retailers, Q4 is a critical time of year, and nailing a portion of that consumer spend is top of mind. So to talk to us today about exactly that, we have Tricia Nichols, Global Lead of Consumer Engagement and Partnerships at Gap, and we have Claire Higgins, Head of Digital Marketing at Selfridges in London. And then beside me here, we have Aria Hughes, our Associate Retail Editor at WGSN. So do follow along our conversation. Obviously, we're live on our Google Plus page and on YouTube, but we're also tweeting away behind the scenes on Twitter with the hashtag WGSN Hangout. So do join us there. So I'm going to jump straight into the questions. Claire, to turn to, actually, sorry, no, Tricia, to turn to you first. Maybe you could just introduce yourself a little bit, but also tell us a bit about the main campaign that Gap is running this season, because if I'm correct, you just launched it at the end of last week.
We did. In fact, today is an exciting day. I'll talk about a little bit why, but my actual role here at Gap is leading global consumer engagement, which is media, digital, social, partnerships, and experiential. And today we have launched our campaign, as well as you saw, a little bit of our films released last week. So I can talk a little bit about that, and also we launched our gift guide this morning, which is really exciting. So our campaign is actually tapping into the uniqueness of family during the holiday season. So we worked with Sofia Coppola, award-winning director. She did Lost to Translation, Virgin Suicides. So working with her, we created a series of 4 films that talk about the uniqueness of family during the holiday season. You know, everyone can resonate with that family feeling and you know, the quirkiness that ensues. So we are working with, our tagline is, you don't have to get them to give them Gap. So if you think about it, you have, you know, that nephew who's already a little bit cooler than you, or you know, you've got a crazy aunt, but you know, everyone really can tap into that feeling, and you don't have to get them to really give them a gift from Gap. So that's our campaign, and we are doing this in multimedia across the board, and it's actually got a true spirit of digital and mobile at the heart of it, because this is, let's face it, the holiday shopping season. So we want to do this for a very digitally savvy audience, and I think we'll talk about our where we go with that in a little bit, but it's across the board. We have our films. We have a couple of art films about product in particular, and our gift guide, which I think I'll talk about in a minute.
Absolutely, and I would say for anyone at home, do go and check out the series of films that are out there. I think we describe them as somewhat awkward but very charming, and it does really sum up those moments of holiday with family where it is a little bit cringe, but it is beautifully done. And I love that kind of tie-in of storytelling. You know, there's a real narrative to it. And Claire, to move over to you, I think, you know, narrative and storytelling is very central to what Selfridges does. So maybe you can, again, tell us a little bit about your role, and also what you guys are planning for the season.
So my name's Claire, and I head up the digital marketing at Selfridges. So overall responsible for all our acquisition, retention, social activity and brand marketing activities that we do. So yes, this year is all around storytelling. Our overarching campaign is Enchanted Christmas, and storytelling is absolutely at the heart. So if you went past our windows in London, which launched about a week and a half ago, you would see a nod to some famous, certainly fairy tales, I should say. So you might see a nod to Red Riding Hood, Hansel and Gretel, and that theme does go throughout our windows and through the store and online. We also have a big personalisation theme this year as well, and a touch of gold. So we've got lots of gold exclusives. So going back to that enchantment that you often get with fairy tales, we feel gold is a really strong palette in terms of its colour and association, and certainly we're getting behind that from a product point of view. And personalisation, as I said, really, really big trend for us. Certainly when you look at Google searches last year, personalised gifting was one of the top gift terms. So we've definitely seen that as a trend that's built over time. At the moment, our customers are going absolutely crazy for personalised Nutella. We knew that would be a very, very popular product because we saw that at our Christmas press show. When Vogue Instagrammed it, it was more popular than one of their September covers. So we knew that that particular product was going to be very, very popular. We also have a partnership with Paddington Bear. So I don't know if anybody understands the relationship between Selfridges and Paddington, but Michael Bond, the founder of Paddington, actually came into Selfridges quite a number of years ago and actually bought that bear in Selfridges, and it's quite apt that we have a concept store that Paddington's taken over, and the premiere for the big movie this holiday period is Paddington, and that releases the 28th of November. So we're really thrilled to be working with the Paddington team and really getting behind that too.
Lovely, and obviously those windows and through the store as well, you know, you guys are really, really good at the experiential angle. Is there anything particularly in the store for people to look out for this season? I presume that's all tied to Paddington Bear as well.
Yes, Paddington, but we've also launched a personalised service called Selfridges. So they were with us last year and they're back this year. So it's actually a personalised gifting service. So if you're really, really stuck, you can book an appointment with one of our Selfridges, have a very personalised experience. They can either take your wish list and go around the store and get all of those products for you while you go to the Everyman cinema, put your feet up, or you can be very much part of that one-to-one service that they give you. Also bringing that alive digitally, we're creating an Selfridges game, and we've also going to have a dedicated Ask an Selfridge throughout December on Twitter as well. So we're really trying to look at that multi-channel experience that a customer goes through and bringing alive some of those experiential experiences that you would get in store.
Nice, yeah, and it sounds, you know, super fun through it all as well. Really nice, a nice touch. And Trisha, just to jump back to you before I move over to Aria, that feeling of fun is certainly something you guys look at online as well. Can you tell us a little bit about the gift guide area that you're looking at online?
Yeah, it's certainly there's definitely elements of fun in there, but really it's baked in convenience and fun and the entertaining aspects that you expect of the season. So where our films, our Sofia Coppola films, will focus on some of our core product like our Crazy Stripe, our Fair Isle, our very cool biker jackets and some party dresses. Our gift guide goes across the board and has a lot of our product from festive product to what's popular to things that we think you could gift really everybody in the family. But our gift guide itself has some art films in it where product takes a center stage, and we have a series of 10 entertaining films of product in it where they're animated. And we also have Player Stripes, and Player Stripes is very unique. It is a interactive player where you can actually play music along with Blood Orange's It Is What It Is, his song It Is What It Is, that's Steve Hines. So Player Stripes is an interactive session that when you get into the gift guide, it will detect if you're wearing stripes, and you can play along with the video by playing the stripes in your clothing, or you can play a song in your own using sounds. So your stripes will create sounds, and that will become something that you can record a video and share that video on. So the gift guide for us is it's a very dynamic, it's entertaining, it's informative, but to the point of what we really think about holiday season and consumer behavior, it's embedded also in mobile. So anything like a gift guide has to be very strong in mobile. So we have the opportunity to gift. You have a wish list. You have the chance to share what you want for the season, and then from a mobile perspective, it's reserve in store. So if you want to reserve an item you see and pick it up later in the store, we can do that. So the gift guide for us has been a very unique launch.
Fantastic, fantastic. And I love the sound of the Play Your Stripes. I haven't yet checked it out, but I'm completely intrigued by the idea. So the Breton Stripes will be coming out in the next couple of days. Give that a go, I think.
It just launched this morning. It's a lot of fun.
Fantastic, fantastic. Okay, so Aria, moving over to you because I want to obviously bring you into the conversation as well. What can you tell us about what we're seeing with other retailers? Like what are we seeing already, or what are you particularly expecting them to really focus on this season?
So first I must say kudos to Gap and Selfridges for kind of focusing on these experiential events, because in the US it's very back to basics. I mean, retailers are mostly focusing on service and utility, which is a trend that we've seen, for the past couple of seasons. And I think their main focus is on making sure that it's a true omni-channel experience and truly seamless. So omni-channel is something that we've heard people talk about, but I think this season they're actually implementing it in a smart way that really helps customers. So for instance, Walmart or I'll start with Sears. Their Shop Your Way app is a curbside pickup that's tied to their mobile app, and there's actually a timer where you'll see when the store associate will come to your car to pick up whether you're exchanging or whether you're picking up something from the store. So things like that. Target has done really great things with its app and integrating the in-store experience. So they have a wish list app as well. And kids can create a wish list, parents can manage the wish list. Target is offering utility by saying, hey, between this date and November 26th, you can get 10% off your wish list on any day you choose. And then also you can come into our store and print out the wish list, similar to like a registry. So I think that I'm happy that retailers are thinking about how to offer convenience, and I think that's great. But I do think that there is room for more delightful experiences in store.
Mm-hmm. Well, surprise and delight is one of those phrases we like to use
right,
over
exactly.
and over again here, right? And
yeah.
I think you're right. There's that combination of the convenience, and obviously, as these guys are saying, with some of the surprise and delight too. And I'm pleased that the word mobile has obviously come up a few times, and obviously we're expecting to see huge growth in the use of mobile this holiday season. Just to give a couple of statistics from the National Retail Federation, apparently 55.7% of consumers say they will use their device in some way or another for holiday. 35% of them for research, which obviously we're somewhat used to, but there's going to be a record 19.1% of consumers who say they will actually purchase via mobile this holiday season. So what all can we expect in terms of that mobile experience? Like you've mentioned a couple of things already, but there are other areas particularly that you think retailers are really focusing on with mobile this season in terms of nailing it?
Well, app creation is huge, and I think that retailers are understanding that by creating a really great store app that offers utility, you're creating an ecosystem for your customers, and it's hard for them to leave it, so therefore they're more loyal to your store. And we know that brand loyalty is kind of out of the window at this point, especially with the millennial generation. So there's been a lot of focus on really great apps. So Target's popular Cartwheel app, they're offering daily deals on like 50% off a toy every day up until Black Friday to keep people come to the app. There's even, I think also with app creation, brands are focusing on how to make the shopping experience very similar to what you see on your desktop, but obviously tailored to a mobile screen. So they're focusing on being able to filter by price, being able to filter by item, color, giving the customer the same exact experience that they can have on their desktop experience on their phone. And then payment is huge. With Apple Pay, there's a few brands, QVC, Lowe's, and Amazon, who are using Apple's Touch ID. So that's another pain point for customers. It's difficult sometimes, or annoying rather, to type in your 16-number credit card. And with Touch ID, you're able to purchase something quickly. So I think retailers are finally really thinking in a very, like I said, an omni-channel type of way, and really thinking, okay, what are our pain points? And it's not about, I think a lot of the times brands focus on, oh, well, people aren't shopping on mobile yet, so we don't need to focus on that. But it's really up to the retailer to build that bridge. You should make it easy for your customers to shop online. It's not about who's doing it, it's about how are you making it easier for them to do it. So yeah, that's what I'm seeing.
And I'm interested in the fact you mentioned Apple Pay, and indeed this ability to pay full stop via mobile as a growing trend. Is that something? I mean, I don't think we think there's obviously not that many people there that have the facility as yet, particularly from the retail side, but of course from the consumer side as well. Is this something we think will uptick over holiday, or is it more a 2015 strategy? And likewise, Tricia and Claire, do please weigh in. Is this something that you guys are looking into? Do you think Apple Pay or that genre of things will start really impacting in your stores?
I think there's a lot of things we're looking at that consumer behavior is certainly dictating what we want to do. There's so much technology already there, and maybe the behavior hasn't caught up yet. Across the board, it's something that we love Reserve in Store for, because it gives people an opportunity, and it is omni-channel for us to give people options how they want to purchase our product. But even, we talked about beacons and different things that retailers can do to make all the experiences better. They're more consumer first. They're built for the consumer needs and wishes. I think in some cases the technology is there before the consumer behavior is really fully caught up, and that's important for retailers to gauge. Is where, and based on their relationship with consumers, where they want to play.
I think, to echo that, I definitely think, we're investigating more of that technology side. But I think what we've tried to do is really invest in our mobile web experience. So we've recently, on the 1st of October, relaunched our site. We also relaunched our mobile site, and we've now got a 3-step checkout. And that for us is making it easier for our customers to be able to experience our brand very quickly, research really quickly. So for example, store opening hours is still one of our most researched pages, because that's people out and about researching before they come into store. But equally, we know that we needed to make the shopping experience better on mobile, and we've seen some really great successes since we actually optimized that. And that's all with the focus of that 60% of our traffic already comes through tablet and mobile experiences already. We're expecting certainly that to grow as we go further into Christmas. I mean, Christmas Day, nearly 70% of our traffic was coming through tablet and mobile experience, and the experiences that people are having. So I think for us, we only see it becoming larger, and the key thing is to make it easier for people to research product, research what's going on in your store, and make that as easy as possible for the customer, because certainly their expectations are so high. So I agree that definitely technology an opportunity, but certainly we've initially invested in making sure the mobile web experience is as strong as possible.
And I guess that speaks very nicely to Aria, what you were saying about the idea of convenience and utility. And just to pick up on that omni-channel phrase, obviously it's a little bit of a used phrase, but I don't think we've got a better one for it just yet. But in terms of that, making the possibility to shop anywhere and at any time, Trisha, I'm really interested in this Reserve in Store that you guys have launched. Like, are you seeing a lot of success from that? And indeed, are there other kind of focuses in terms of what you guys are pushing out to make more of that kind of thing possible?
Reserve in Store is something that, I actually have firsthand experience with this. I worked in a Gap store probably a month ago, so sometimes, we'll go and work the floor ourselves, and I happen to be in the kids and baby shop at the time. And Reserve in Store is such a tremendous tool for interactions with our customers, and it's such a, you mentioned surprise and delight, it's such a wonderful thing to give them the opportunity to pick up in store if they reserved online, and in reverse, to be able to ship from store. So if there's something that we want to make available that can ship to their home, and we can find it at any store available. So it is important to have a variety of options, and we have seen and I have seen firsthand the excitement from being able to offer something like Reserve in Store, and to work through making sure the consumer can get what they want.
Yeah, absolutely. And Claire, is this something you guys are doing too? I remember last year you had that great click and collect service with the drive-through and the gentleman in the top and tails. Is that still running?
Well, actually, we're redeveloping our London store at the moment. So where that was is actually under a big development. So not, unfortunately, there for this year. But one of the things that we have recently launched this year is we've expanded our Wonder Room, which is our fine jewellery area that you find in Selfridges London, online. So we launched exclusively with Cartier, and we're soon rolling out a number of other brands in that room in Selfridges London. And essentially what enables the customer to do is to buy it online, but to actually collect their item from the boutique. For a lot of luxury brands, that one-to-one personalised experience is still incredibly important for them. And actually, if you've spent quite a significant amount of money on fine jewellery, actually being able to come into the boutique, experience that one-to-one service is still really important from a consumer point of view. So that's another area that we've added to our click and collect experience. We've also expanded our space in Selfridges London and regionally as well. And I think another thing that we're looking at from the delivery proposition is we're soon to launch Sunday deliveries, because we know that our customers want to be able to, going back to your point earlier, Rachel, that anytime, anywhere, at the convenience of them. So that's something that we're looking to launch before certainly the Christmas peak.
It's interesting. I mean, it's kind of like the the consumers just want everything, isn't it? You want that convenience, you want it now,
Right.
but you also want that beautifully experiential side of it as well. And as you said, the real personalization focus, particularly if you are in the store, and obviously we're talking about different levels of consumption at this point as well. But Aria, what do you think, around that omni-channel? Do you think the consumer is just expecting a lot more of this? And what else do you think we will start seeing in terms of just that ability to get everything when you want? I mean, the Sunday delivery was actually something that was trialed here last year as well, wasn't it? I think it was Amazon that was trialing it.
I mean, I think shipping is a huge focus for a lot of retailers this season, because in the U.S. particularly, a lot of people didn't receive their packages before Christmas.
Yeah, it was a mess last
which
year,
upset a lot of people. So I think retailers are definitely getting smarter, and same-day shipping has kind of been adopted in a really big way recently. So Deliv is this great same-day shipping service that works with mall operators. And I mean, if anybody knows the mall experience during Christmas, it's not very pleasant, and you have tons of packages. So now there's this service where for only $5, you can, if you're shopping at Foot Locker or Macy's, you can say, hey, yes, can you please send these to my house? So by the time I get home, they're there. And
so this is when you're in the store.
Exactly, you're in the mall. So it really is a true omni-channel experience. And I think even with Kohl's, which I commend them for working with Google Shopping Express to do same-day shipment. So I think that the need for speedy delivery is becoming more and more important. And then I think no one wants to pay for shipping also. So Target made this, I think, kind of a controversial decision because I think people are kind of concerned with how it will impact their margins, but they're saying, we'll ship anything to you, whether it's a bottle of toothpaste or a flat iron TV for free online, no matter how much the purchase is. And then there's price matching. I think Target has for a long time price matched with Amazon. Walmart is considering it this season. They typically only do it with like local competing retailers. So, retailers understand that if we don't offer this, they'll get it someplace else, and therefore their dollars will go to another store. So yeah, unfortunately for the retailers, they do have to try everything. They do have to offer everything. They do have to meet the customer where they are at all times.
It's an interesting point, isn't it? I mean, like you said on the shipping one, we want it immediately, but we also don't want to pay for it.
Exactly.
And it's where does the retailer find that balance? Do you actually genuinely think that maybe even outside of holiday, that same day delivery is an important investment retailers should be thinking about?
I used it recently, and
which one did you use?
I use Google Shopping Express, and I must say it can be addictive. I can't afford to use it all the time, and sometimes I enjoy walking to the grocery store, but I mean, I definitely can see people getting addicted to it. And there's also a lot of different apps, Postmates, and that are going to continue to partner with retailers. Like they recently partnered with Everlane, which is a pure play startup on same-day delivery on like basics, like a sweater. I think as more and more services are offered, people will begin to expect it. So it sounds like a very luxurious proposition now, but I think it soon will be the norm.
Trisha, are you seeing the same at Gap? Are you having to make those kind of investments on the shipping side of things particularly?
So we are testing currently ship from store, and I think that's something, you touched on a great point. Consumers do want it both ways, every way possible, often. So, part of our, we are testing that in some areas, and then I think the holidays are an interesting time period when you get closer to actual, when maybe even shipping options sort of run out for a lot of retailers and individuals, then things like reserve in store work. So there's certainly opportunities as you think about cadence and timing, what's really going to work best, and when you might want to really focus on certain things. So we do pay attention to even just what behavior is dictating and their shopping cycle behaviors, wishes, so on.
Nice, yeah, absolutely. I think I wanted to pick up on one of the other things that you mentioned earlier, Tricia, and I don't know if anybody else has a viewpoint on this, but beacons as being another one of those investments that we're kind of seeing being trialed by retailers at the moment. Are they coming up for either of you two? Is that something that you're looking at?
It's something that I'm really intrigued with because something like beacons, if you think about what they may do in a store setting, where they may sit in a store, let's say it's a mannequin that is, has beacon technology, and that mannequin then can serve up outfitting choices and more content around outfitting and styling, even beyond the holidays, and just thinking about what retailers can offer more broadly in terms of content and helping consumers choose the right product. And sometimes for someone like Gap, it's what product and what else goes with it, or how do I really wear this and what's the right style for me. So things like these technologies that allow us to create more content tied to just what would be a simple execution in the store are really interesting to us, and I think we want to learn more about what either consumers want in that space, or what is an agreeable technology. I mentioned earlier, there's a lot of things that are available. If it's something that consumers are wanting yet, is something that we need to think about.
Yeah, I mean, I guess maybe just to clarify for people watching, if you don't know what beacons are, these are essentially, correct me if I'm wrong, Aria, I might not get this right, it's Bluetooth technology so you put a device in the store and that will be able to send notifications to the phones that have that technology embedded in them. So all of the recent iPhones do now have that, so you would be able to get a notification from a retailer as you walked in to notify you of things that are relevant to you. Likewise, you would be able to explore yourself, so it wouldn't always be that you would be bombarded by these notices, but indeed that you'd be able to bring up information around certain pieces, and as you said, for styling information and things like that. And of course, we're seeing them in a lot of spaces when it is more informative. So maybe if you're buying a television, it might bring up some comparisons in terms of the types of TVs that there are and things. Aria, can you tell us about, we are seeing this as a big investment already. There's a lot of retailers trialing it this season. Can you tell us about some of them?
So Shopkick, I think, recently came out with these really amazing stats that they have pretty much, there's been like $1 billion worth of purchases via the Shopkick app. And for people who don't know what the Shopkick app is, it works with beacons. They work with Macy's, American Eagle. There's another beacon provider called Swirl that works with Alex and Ani. And pretty much with Shopkick, you are rewarded for certain things. For walking through the door, you're given kicks, and you're able to redeem those kicks. You're given
those being discounts.
Exactly, value discounts, or it could be get a $30 gift card for 20, things like that. And so you're rewarded for doing certain things. I know American Eagle would reward shoppers for going to the fitting room, and they're seeing a lot of great things with behavior. I think that beacons are like an exciting space, but sometimes, I know about them because I cover them, but I walk into stores and I would never know that they had this technology, and I think that that's a huge miss.
Okay.
And I like that Tesco in the UK, they work with beacons, but they don't work with them from a marketing point of view. They offer a real utility. So it's embedded in their store app, which is another thing I think is important. I think that beacons should be embedded in store apps at some point. I'm sure they will be, and they are currently with certain stores. But with Tesco, they allow you to create your shopping list, and then it directs you to every place in the store where your items are.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So that's a really cool utility.
So
yeah, I think that brands need to focus on how it offers utility also. Content is great, styling ideas are great, but essentially I think that the only way that they're going to have mass adoption is people have to use them, or it makes their shopping experience all the more easier.
Well, there's a huge incentive.
Right, exactly.
Well.
Yeah, so Shopkick has done a great job with that, with giving you a reason to walk into the door because you're going to be rewarded for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think, as we said before, Macy's is one of those big partners, right? Isn't it something like 4,000
right.
have been rolled out?
Yeah, I think now, I think Macy's and Bloomingdale's, they now are in all stores.
Okay.
But like I said, I would have no idea. I'm sure if my mother walked into Macy's, she wouldn't know that they have this cool technology. So I think that there's a missing element with letting the consumer know that these exist.
And maybe it's, as Trisha said, there's still that slight divide as the consumer being totally ready for it. But I think you're right, we will see more. And I know the North Face are trialing here as well. And in the UK, John Lewis is set to, I believe, probably not until next year, but they ran a competition recently, which was won by a beacon provider. So that'll be interesting to see. The other area I wanted to touch on, Claire, maybe coming to you just because you did bring this up earlier, was the idea of customer service. And obviously you've got your Selfridges, but can we maybe shift a little bit, because we've talked a lot about actually when you're in the store, but what about social media and how much of a focus do we see on customer service in that space? Because I'm imagining, obviously being a shopper myself, if things are going wrong around holiday, then Twitter's probably one of the first places you're going to take to complain about it.
Yeah, no, sure. I think what we've seen is a huge amount of people move on to social channels to tell us whether they're having an amazing experience, but also telling us when they're not so happy. And I almost think that Twitter is like the heartbeat monitor of our company. We can really understand temperament very, very well. So I think, from our side, we've invested in our social service customer team and upskilling them, and also making sure that we're going ahead into Christmas certainly in a really, really strong place. But I think, largely we're pretty fortunate as a brand with a lot of positive sentiment and a lot of people sharing their experiences, from getting that wow package and yellow package as they've got it through the door, right through to the experiences that they're having in store. But certainly over the last 2 years, we have seen the trend move much more from making a phone call but telling us in 140 characters whether they're happy or not so happy with an experience that they've had with Selfridges. So certainly a very, very important component for us as we go into Christmas, making sure that kind of seamless experience is through social is still there as well, just as much as that when you picked up the phone to a customer service representative, you would have that very, very similar experience. Obviously a little bit more challenging with 140 characters, but it's certainly a growing area for us.
And Tricia, I presume it's a similar scenario for you guys as well.
We certainly our social channels are a place where we see dialogue. Of course, it's never monologue. But our content is actually built for social and mobile as well. So one thing that we do really try to focus on is the type of content we're putting in social, that it is built for that arena. But in terms of just making sure that we're in touch and listening to customers, we certainly do that. And then in terms of giving them options and even entertainment throughout the holidays, I think is key through our social. We have actually seen in some cases more engagement in social with content that we have built for that platform than any other content. So it's an important time for us, and during the holidays, social is obviously a very intimate channel to have.
One of the areas I want to come back to that actually, but one of the areas I just wanted to pick up quickly first on that idea of social media, of customer service particularly, is the idea of live chat. Is that an investment that you guys, either of you, have made or are thinking of making? Because I know we've been kind of exploring it a little bit here internally in terms of the retailers that are doing it and the success they're seeing off the back of it. And by that, obviously, for viewers, I mean the ability to have a live conversation with customer service representatives over through the website largely, and indeed, I presume on mobile as well.
Yeah.
I think we're certainly reviewing that. What we're definitely finding is that Twitter provides a lot of that real-time conversation. Certainly to some degree off the site. So we're certainly looking at live chat functionality on site. It won't be something that we'll implement before Christmas. I know a lot of other retailers have had some really great successes, but we are also then trying to bring in that real time. So going back to my point around the Selfridges, so how can you have that personalised one-to-one service that you would find in store? How can we provide that online? And actually through social, throughout December, we'll have a dedicated elf, of course, asking anyone that uses that hashtag #AskAnElfridge will be able to get a gift response within 30 minutes, with a personalised suggestion to whatever their query might be. So we're looking at other ways, especially social, that we can really provide that real-time service to people.
So just to explain that, so you put the hashtag on social, asking your query, saying, I need to buy a present for my brother or something, and then it will literally send you a product recommendation back from the website. Okay, nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Simple, but it sounds very effective.
Yeah, really simple, but a way that we can bring alive some of the magic that we have through some of our services in store, but very, again, one-to-one and personalised too.
Yeah, lovely. Aria, what about from your perspective on the live chat things? Is there anything to add on that angle?
Well, yeah, I think there's been a few retailers, Clinique and a couple of others, that have focused on mobile-enabled live chat, so whether it's on the site or within the app. And then we've also seen a retailer like Ukes partner with, I believe, WhatsApp or WeChat. Sorry. WeChat. Sorry. Partner with WeChat on allowing shoppers to get into direct contact with sales associates, and then also Nordstrom doing something where it allows its store associates to text customers with clienteling and things like that. So live chat is important. I think retailers are trying to figure out, okay, so let's also meet them on their mobile with live chat.
Yeah.
And then also let's just give them the tools to be able to directly get in touch with a store associate, like with whatever platform they like, whether it's Twitter or whether it's the store app or whether it's by texting a personal relationship that you have with the store associate. So yeah, that type of one-to-one, exactly. So that type of one-to-one is super important.
Okay, interesting, great. And Trisha, to go back to what you were saying about social media, I'm really intrigued to hear what you were saying about the idea of putting out content specifically for channels, and I presume this is tied to the campaign that you guys are running for the season. Can you tell us a little bit more about what you mean by that?
Sure. In our gift guide, in fact, if you visit that today, Gap gift guide, you would see these product art films, and they're short little films where product is the hero, and they're animated and doing fun things set to music. And a lot of our content, not only the art films, but Play Your Stripes, in fact, they're built for what we know to be experiences that people want to have in social. And what we see that when we build content like this, engagement for us is really skyrocketed. And I think it is important to understand how people want to view content, and that a lot of times it's mobile first, and so you have to think about content and how content can be more successful if it's built that way versus retrofitted that way. So I think that's really key and important, and we're excited about being able to think about content in that way, for sure.
And how do you take the idea of the storytelling and the narrative that we've talked about in terms of your larger campaign and push that out across your channels? Because obviously there's different consumer focus through each one, right?
Sure, and what we do is our social team is made up of people that know each of the channels really well. They in themselves are big Instagrammers, they're big Pinterest, they have a lot of followers in all these channels. So a lot of times, even our art films that Sofia Coppola has done, there will be edits and things that are specifically built for us to share in that capacity, or it could be more behind the scenes type elements that we see are really successful in social. Social is really meant for dialogue. It's actually a medium that is encouraging consumers to share back, and we see really quickly when we even make smaller edits and things to fit those channels, it's been very successful.
Nice. And Claire, can you tell us from your side? Obviously, you've got this great storytelling and this narrative that's running through your store and online. And is it a similar kind of scenario across social? Do you tie up that whole campaign together?
Yes, definitely. I think if we were going to take an example that we're going to be launching later this week, so we're going into the party season, so fairy telling and all those stories, bringing them alive. So it might be a flipagram that we might do on Instagram with all our gold products. So we're heroing Cinderella shoes and gold clutches, for instance. It's how can we use that content that's right for those platforms to engage certainly our customers. For personalization, for instance, what we're going to be doing is quite a lot of listening. So, essentially if somebody's having a bad day, we could surprise them randomly, put their Twitter handle on one of our personalization products. So that could be a Mr. Men mug, it could be a Paddington art print, and it's really ways that we can engage our customers. And going back to Trisha's point around dialogue, it's really listening and responding and creating that engagement. We're also, with our Selfridges game, because you'll be able to essentially play it on mobile and also desktop versions too, but we'll also be creating an app, is that you'll be able to share your score and gain another life if you do share it with certainly your friends or family, etc., through your social platforms. So again, it's really trying to create a bit of fun, engagement, really trying to get to the essence of social is a two-way dialogue, but equally it's just trying to capture the imaginations of your customers, so they're then coming to you, experiencing your brand, not just it becoming a push marketing channel, which I think a lot of brands are certainly guilty of doing.
Absolutely.
Claire, you mentioned a really good point I just wanted to add into. The holiday season itself has a spirit of fun and family and quirkiness, and I think that's really key in any of our content, that we capture the essence and the emotion of holiday. And for us, Play Your Stripes, in fact, is something people can share and have a lot of fun with. But it is really about being able to at this time of year share, have fun, send a smile, really enjoy the fact that we're retailer brands that are helping people navigate the shopping season, but also enjoy it and have a little more fun and the convenience built in with it.
Yeah, I guess it's that feeling of that kind of being very heartwarming at the same time, making it very simple for people to actually achieve it and to therefore want to do it with you. That said, on the social side of things, I guess I'm really interested. We're talking a lot about the kind of magic of it and the storytelling and the dialogue and so forth. But what about the objectives that are tied to social? Like, is there a real push these days for the conversion? And I say this partly because Twitter put out some news just last week about the fact that it really how much it impacts retail and how much traffic it is driving through from a conversion perspective. Is this something that you guys are seeing? Are you measuring and how much of a push in terms of your objectives is there to make social about conversion rates?
We're a global brand, so certainly each of our regions have a lot of times very large goals in terms of using social for conversion or just a way to really have a more of a dialogue. But right now, one of the trends I actually wanted to mention is we're looking at shoppability in social now. Social is giving us the chance to really take it a step further. So things like on Instagram, working with Curate, we're testing like to buy. Whereas you've liked something on Instagram, now you can create a link through our profile and go on to purchase it. So I think social is something that has a lot more capability than even retailers are giving it an opportunity to test right now. And we are, it's important to talk to people like Twitter and Pinterest and Instagram and see what they have ahead and how we can help them even test what they'd like to see in terms of behavior. So it's a fun time to be involved in social and in all the different ways that you can utilize social for whether it's conversion or just testing insights.
Yeah, I think, from our side, I would really still hold quite firm in how we look at social is around how we engage our customers and the percentage of customers that we engage through our content and the conversations that we're having with them. I think it really depends on the campaign and the objectives that you're trying to meet. So conversion, for instance, if we were using paid promoted tweets to drive ice rink sales, we've got in Selfridges Trafford, for instance, which is in Manchester, we have an ice rink, and we will be driving certainly promoted tweets to drive bookings. And it's a very user intent. I book, I see a message, and I can book from there. But I think in terms of some of the more fun, engaging pieces of content, that isn't our intention. So I think it has to go back to any campaign that you're looking at doing. What is your objectives, and then what are you trying? What your key KPIs are. So it's not that I don't think that conversion is there from social. I just think that it really depends on what your aspirations and content that you're producing and what those KPIs should be.
Sure, absolutely. I mean, at the end of the day, you both have very different brands, right? And I presume that's a massive part of it. Aria, to bring it to you, are you seeing something similar? I mean, I love the fact that Trisha brought up the idea of this social commerce, which obviously had a very negative connotation not that long ago in terms of kind of the flop that was Facebook commerce and how that's kind of coming back round. So what are you seeing particularly?
It's interesting. I mean, Amazon is using Twitter in a way where if a person, you can link your Amazon account to your Twitter account, and you hashtag, I think, Amazon wishlist when someone tweets out a product link, but it has to be an Amazon product link, and that item is then added to your wish list. I mean, I think social commerce does have the possibility to drive a lot of conversion. I just don't think it's there yet. I think the transaction is a bit too and I still think that mostly people do want to go to social media to create the dialogue and to engage. I think probably what's more interesting is advertising on platforms like Vine or Snapchat, seeing how retailers are able to create engaging content in these flash 15 seconds. I think that's more exciting to me than social commerce.
Okay,
at this point.
Yeah, like you said, I mean, as these guys did too, it's definitely a trial process at this point, right? And I mean, I know Twitter also with the buy button that's rolling out some more for the holiday season, I think just in the US, but it'll be an interesting thing to watch for sure as these get uptake, and as you said, maybe this is something that's rolling into next year as opposed to specifically for the holiday. But in terms of talking about the next few weeks, I guess one of the things, and to kind of almost wrap up our conversation a little bit, is the idea of kind of when particularly does really matter for you guys as retailers. Now, obviously in the US, it's a slightly different scenario because the season is broken up by the fact that there is Thanksgiving and Black Friday at the end of November, and not just Christmas to focus on. Are there different weeks, therefore, that you two both will look at as the most important for you in terms of either driving that engagement or indeed just driving sales full stop, whether they're online or in the store? Trisha, maybe if I come to you first, and I'm just really interested to know kind of when is very important for you.
Sure. And hopefully you can see me. I've noticed the sun is coming in so bright now, so I'm not sure if I've become washed out yet. But Black Friday is certainly a key time period for us. But again, as a global brand, that does differ across the globe. But Black Friday is a key moment for us. And then we do pay attention to the ramping up days in terms of what November looks like versus December, and when habits switch over from browsing to maybe gift listing and doing things where the pre-shopping and then converting to more of a shopping time period. So we actually do think about certain days in November and December as critical moments where we see peaks in that behavior. And then I mentioned earlier, but reserve in store would be a critical thing for us to start talking more to toward the end of December, when maybe shipping options differ for people. So Black Friday is very key for us here in the U.S. and elsewhere. We really start to look at what people are doing and what their behavior looks like in browsing to buying.
We find that certainly Hitwise has been a very good tool for us to use in terms of planning out our editorial content, our comms strategy as well, because like for November instance, you'll have early peaks in technology, toys, because no parent can face Christmas Day with a disappointing child on their hands and with not getting that must-have product. So I think for us, we've used a lot of that insight, as well as the sales insight that we've had the last couple of years, to be able to understand when should we be pushing certain things. So yep, definitely going into November, we've got a heavy focus on party, but you'll start to see then as we go into December, fragrance really comes into its own. We're doing some really fantastic illustrated films that we're going to be seeding on YouTube that will go live late November, because beauty really starts to trend end of November going into the first 3 weeks of December. They tend to be late purchases as well, as I would say, not being sexist, but there are a lot of panic male buyers buying that type of certain product around that time. So we do really try to look at trending and consumer behavior and really think about how our merchandising, but also our storytelling around that time is really in line with what consumers are thinking about, and importantly, when they're looking at buying too.
And Aria, I mean, obviously we've seen just this weekend, Halloween's been and gone, and I presume from here on out the discounts are rolling in the stores. And are you expecting to see that even earlier? I mean, last year, correct me if I'm wrong, the stores were open on Thanksgiving Day itself, and the discounts were very heavy, very early for Black Friday.
Yeah, it seems like the weekend after Halloween, or this weekend, is the day or the date now, and a lot of retailers start rolling out deals. And I'm assuming it's maybe they are hoping to meet their numbers or get to their numbers before Black Friday, so there's not as much pressure on Black Friday. But they seem to be rolling out, like November 1st, exactly. So I believe Target, like I said, with their Cartwheel app, they're releasing a toy deal every day up until Black Friday and incentivizing people to purchase before that day. Similar to what Claire said, people want to get those toys in, those must-have electronics in as soon as they can, to make sure that they kind of beat the rush. And then there's a lot of controversy about should you be open on Thanksgiving and should you not, and some retailers are taking a stand and saying no, and some retailers are saying yes. I mean, I don't know what the right decision is to make. I've told people before when they ask me about Black Friday, I do think it's a more pleasant experience to go to a store at 6 o'clock on an evening as opposed to 5 o'clock in the morning the day after Thanksgiving. So I feel bad for the store associates that have to come in after the Thanksgiving meal, but from a consumer perspective, it is, not that I participate, but it seems like it's just a better experience. And I think that there will continue to be brands that say, yes, we're opening on Thanksgiving, and no, we're not. So I don't know how important it is, but it's something that we continue to talk about, and I'm sure it'll shift as time goes on. And if retailers start to see, the benefit of being open on that day, if it really does help financially.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, well, so just to wrap up, I guess we've talked about so many different things here. We've talked about storytelling. I love the idea of the magic and the surprise and delight, but obviously also the functionality and the utility, that real omni-channel focus, and how we're making that happen, whether it's through things like shipping, indeed, through the mobile web and everything else that's going on in that space, and of course everything we're doing over social media. But I guess what I want to know from you guys, just to finish, is if you're advising other retailers, perhaps non-competition, obviously, then what would you say to them is the most important consideration for holidays? Can you really pinpoint one of them? Is it about achieving that real share of voice, and ultimately, how do you really get that share of wallet in this important time period?
I'll just start. I think if you can help people navigate the holiday season and do it in a way that is informative, it's about convenience, it's built for them, it's built with digital and mobile in mind, but ultimately you're helping them really enjoy what are their truths about the holiday. Sometimes it is the quirkiness of family, but it is also about how can I really solve for what I want to solve for this season. So you have to be, you want to do a little bit of both, and that means sort of touching hearts and heads at the same time, and really thinking about the convenience and navigating, but doing it while enjoying it, which is something that sometimes can be tough to do in the retail world. So for us, I think it's that.
Great.
And I think from our side, everything Tricia said, but equally it's about creating an extraordinary experience. And I think if you can create that, then that says echoes about your brand, but it also matches what the customer have very, very high expectations. So I think fundamentally going back to how do you create an extraordinary experience? How do you surprise, amaze, and amuse them? And I think if you have that in your mantra, then you'll fundamentally get that right, and understanding when your customer is importantly looking for certain things, then buying, and making sure that you're with them every step of that journey as they're going through that phase of certainly Christmas.
Right. And Aria, anything to add?
I mean, I'll talk from a consumer perspective of things I wish I saw more of, that I think retailers should focus on into the holiday. First, I feel like mobile point of sale, like the technology is there, so I'm always confused why I go into a big box store and more associates don't have it. It just seems like it seems like, especially if you have one item, it seems like a really easy fix to have someone by the exit and you say, hey, I'd like to purchase it. I think that's great.
Again, convenient.
Yeah, exactly. I'm seeing developments. Google has recently launched this marketing platform where they tie inventory. So say Macy's is working with Google on it, and say you type in black Nine West boots in the Google search. Google Shopping will come up with the Nine West boots at Macy's, and then they'll tie it to Macy's inventory. So they'll say, we have this in stock at this Macy's that's up the street from you in a size 7.5. And I think inventory is a huge place, and I'm sure it's quite difficult to tie that back into the e-commerce experience. But I don't see that enough. Like, I go shopping and I want to know, oh, do they have that sweater in my size in the store? And rarely is that the case. So I think that's something I'd love to see more. And also just like, startups have been really smart about these and Selfridges as well as Gap has also, but not everyone's like that, have been really smart about these experiential spaces. And startups, especially in New York, create really great pop-ups that you want to go to that include daily events and also just a really great set of curated product. And I know Target is partnering with Story, which is that popular New York store that changes its inventory every 3 months, to curate a gift shop. And I feel like more elements of that can be brought into the mass shopping experience. I think it's great that Selfridges is bringing their Wonder Room to life online and in store, but I think more people should take that point of view when just offering customers like a curated space to shop.
No reason to
right,
go,
exactly.
To get it
yeah.
in the first place. Great, well, I think that's a brilliant note to end on. So just to thank very much Claire from Selfridges and Tricia from Gap, and of course Aria here from WGSN for joining us today. And I guess all left to say is like best of luck, you guys, for the holiday period. And hopefully lots of shoppers will be coming along to see those experiences. Thank you again for joining us. And for those of you watching online as well, thank you very much. And do stay in tune with our conversation via the hashtag WGSN Hangout, and we will see you on the next one. Thank you.
Bye.